So good to see you all. Pranams, greetings to our spiritual family and friends here at the Bonaventure Hotel, and to those who are joining online. This is the first of 3 satsangas that are offered this week of convocation. Satsanga gives us an opportunity to answer questions from the devotees and how to apply the teachings of our Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, in daily life. As many of you might know, the word satsanga comes from the Sanskrit root, sat meaning truth, sangha meaning fellowship, or as our Guru said, fellowship with truth. And speaking of truth, our Guru, Paramahansaji, gave to the world eternal truths through his How to Live lessons, the Kriya Yoga meditation techniques, the voluminous anthologies, including our newest one, Solving the Mystery of Life, and of course the epics, the Second Coming of Christ, and his interpretation of the Gita, God Talks with Arjuna. He's given us everything we need to reach our highest spiritual goals. And yet, another truth. He once said during a temple service, if you practice 1/1,000,000th of what I tell you, you will reach God. 1/1,000,000th. The key word here actually is practice, and we will have plenty of opportunity to practice this week our Guru's teachings. So let us get started. Our first question. My life seems to have 2 tracks. On the one hand, I follow and practice the SRF teachings. On the other hand, I socialize, work, and engage in the usual daily rituals. And that's my worldly track. I yearn to merge these into one authentic life. But I don't know how to bring these 2 worlds together in a way that will not offend people or make them see me as preachy or very different from them. First of all, our Guru, Paramahansaji, was the epitome of an authentic life. He had attained the realization you yearn for, every one of us yearns for. He could engage with the world. He could create a worldwide mission, spiritual mission. And all the time he was united with God. He was in communion with God. How did he attain this state of consciousness? He made the effort, certainly over incarnations, and he has shown us the way to do the same, how to reach liberation, and how to find freedom from the delusion that we are separate from the infinite Lord. He said, be like the active, inactive Lord. In creation, he is joyously busy. Beyond creation, he is joyously quiescent in divine bliss. Because I made the effort to find God in meditation, I am enjoying his bliss, even in the midst of activity. So, to answer your question, all you need to do is attain that very high state of consciousness, Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Isn't that simple? No, not so simple. But we can boil this down to 2 words, effort and patience. As Sri Yukteswarji said, everything in future will improve if you are making a spiritual effort now. If we increase our spiritual efforts, the merging of our inner and outer lives will come naturally. By patient, deep practice of the teachings, especially in meditation, Kriya Yoga, Hangsa, the Om techniques, the soul will gradually reach that high state of consciousness, superconsciousness. Finding God in meditation is how illumined souls, such as our Guru, merged their outer and inner lives. That state of bliss where we can fully participate in worldly activities and never lose that state of inner communion. This is consciously or unconsciously the striving of every soul. It is the goal of yoga. So, to encourage yourself to make more effort in your sadhana, you could read the selections in the spiritual diary on patience and effort. This is the guidance that Sri Dayamataji gave me many years ago when I felt like I was sort of lagging on the spiritual path. She said, read those quotations over and over again. Make them your own. And I did that, and it really helped me. Regarding your concern that you will be different, well, fortunately, you will be different. A soul who deeply loves God and strives to see the good in others and is more concerned about how he or she behaves in this world is very different. Our beloved Guru was different, and yet those early disciples who would describe him often said he was most genuine. Dayamataji said of him, he was a soul in love. He was a soul in love, and yet he was creating a worldwide religion, a worldwide spiritual mission, always one with God. And you asked about being offensive. You will not offend anyone if you try humbly to be a light that will shine the light for others by your quiet humility, your quiet joy, your calmness, and your loving spirit. Those divine qualities will do the preaching for you. You might also consider some of the points we're going to bring up in the next question, which is, I've always noticed that I do things with a lot of energy and drive, and I guess that's good. But I've begun to notice that it is also accompanied by a sense of inner pressure and tension. How can I approach everything with ambition and enthusiasm, but maintain a deep sense of inner surrender and peace? Guruji trained his early disciples to serve quickly, enthusiastically, and efficiently. He himself wasted no time. And he expected the same from his disciples around him. He also encouraged them to keep their minds on God. As in his prayer, and I'm sure most of you know this prayer, and you can repeat it with me mentally, no matter where I go or what I do, may the spotlight of my mind ever keep turning towards thee. And in the battle din of activity, may my silent war cry ever be, God, God, God. That battle din of activity can be a joyous one if we take charge of the mind. Inner pressure can be addressed with some practical inner talk. When you feel that pressure and that tension inside, ask yourself, why do I feel this? Why do I accept this tension in my life? Is it self-imposed or some other factor? Try to get to the source of your inner pressure. And if you really analyze it, you'll find that you don't have to live with tension. You can control that. You can control the mind. You can control the emotions. Again, we need to take control of the mind. And Guruji gave us a wonderful, very brief but powerful affirmation that we can use all day long, off and on during the day. I'll say it once and we'll repeat it together 3 times. I am the master of the moments of my life. Let's repeat together in unison. I am the master of the moments of my life. I am the master of the moments of my life. I am the master of the moments of my life. Affirm that off and on during the day, because no one else can master us. We need to master ourselves. So you also asked in this question how to maintain a deep sense of surrender and peace. Well, that's a tall order in today's world, isn't it? A few points. Let us remember who is the doer in our lives. The Lord is the very life force sustaining every one of our trillions of life cells. And without that life force, we could not sustain life. So acknowledge that one who is the doer in our lives. Practice the presence of that great doer in daily life. Another one of Guruji's affirmations, and you know this one, but it's easier said than done. I am calmly active and actively calm. Many years ago, I was serving Sri Dayamataji in her later years, and I was so enthusiastic about helping her in any way that I practically blew her over with my energy. And one day, she looked at me and she said, "Dear, Master would tell us disciples around him to be calmly active and actively calm." Well, I practiced it, and I practiced it. So I thought. Once I calmed down, or I thought I calmed down, it seemed I went the other extreme. I was too calm and too reticent. And on another day, she said, "What happened to you? Where's your enthusiasm? Where's your life force?" So when we practice Master's affirmations, we want to take them deep. We're not just parroting words. We're taking them deep into our consciousness. I am calmly active, actively calm. Another point, and this we can do. Surely we can carve out 10, 15 minutes during the day to stop for 10 minutes and practice Hangsa and, if time, Kriya. That practice during the middle of the day can really calm the mind and center our consciousness. Also helpful is a quick walk outside and deep breathe. Master was he often told the devotees, when you're out walking, deep breathe. Don't just walk, deep breathe. Another point, as we go about our daily activities, recall often, and this helps us to surrender. And it also helps us detach from the ego. Thy will be done, not mine. This helps to keep the Lord close. When the devotees served, Guruji would often have them stop, go within for just an instant, and think of Divine Mother. He said, keeping the conscious mind on the task at hand does not prevent one from reflecting constantly on God in the background of the mind. And lastly, at the end of the day, read from the teachings or repeat an affirmation. Take that into your evening hours and then into sleep. And just try to keep perspective at the end of the day when you introspect. This is all a passing dream. We're here to learn our lessons and most of all, to seek and to find God. When we calmly offer our ambitions and enthusiasm to God, then, as Guruji said, our work helps our meditations, and meditation helps our work. We need the balance. Our next question. What would Master say now that SRF started so much online meditation? Would he say you don't need to go to the temples, centers, or groups to meditate, since one can meditate together online? From my study of the teachings, it seems there is a great benefit to also meditating together, when possible, for in-person meditations. But I've noticed that at the temples, that instead of making the effort to drive and attend in person, some people are meditating at home with their online meditations. I love the online meditations, but I look forward to the groups whenever possible. It's also a good discipline to make one sit still and not disturb others. Well, you ask, what would Master say? When I first read this, I thought, well, what would Master say? How would I know what Master would say? But I think Master might say, meditate, meditate, meditate. And the most interesting thing happened. I wasn't quite sure that Master would say that. How can I? So the other day, I opened our new anthology, Solving the Mystery of Life, and I turned to the chapter, Solving the Mystery of Life. And I turned to the last paragraph of that chapter, and what 3 words do you think I saw? Meditate, meditate, meditate. And I think he would also want us to know that group meditations are spiritually beneficial. If one is near a temple, a center, or a group, attend them, join them whenever possible. There is strength in numbers, and our own efforts will be strengthened by those devotees around us. If circumstances are such that you cannot join with others in person, then take full advantage of the online services and meditations. Our Guru has provided so many opportunities for all of us to participate in group meditations. In our ashrams, we meditate together as a group 3 times a day. In the morning, we have a short meditation at noon, and then again in the evening. These community efforts help to unite us in our resolve and creates an underlying harmony in the ashrams. Personally, I really believe in attending the temples. My first visit to that beautiful San Diego temple, that legacy temple, was a most memorable experience. It was the first time I'd ever been to a temple. And I sat in that temple. I hadn't yet learned how to meditate, and I was just wide-eyed in awe at these. Every seat was filled, and everyone was meditating quietly. You couldn't hear anything. And then Brother Mokshananda came to the podium, and to speak on the Guru's teachings, of course. And the brother had such a remarkable blend of humility and power. His words were filled with sincerity, wisdom, and they conveyed complete conviction of Paramahansaji's truth, his spiritual truth, and his love for humankind, and his supreme love for God. I knew that these were the teachings that would lead me to God. Then came the first chant I ever heard in that blessed chapel. That chant to Divine Mother, engrossed as the bee of my mind. As I tuned in with the devotees chanting that beautiful chant, I was transported to another state of consciousness, one of exceeding joy and divine awareness. And that experience lasted for many hours, even after I left the temple. Soon after, I started the Self-Realization Fellowship lessons and tried to meditate. And I think you would resonate with me when I said it wasn't easy in the beginning. I struggled with meditation, and at one point I asked another devotee at the temple, a senior devotee, what happened to that experience? And she quoted Brother Anandamoy when he was asked the same question. And he said, that is God's come on, that experience, his prod. Meditating in that temple was my haven, my strength, and my spiritual lifeline. So for those who cannot attend temple services or groups or even join with family members in your own homes, take advantage of the SRF YSS mobile app. That will help you with your private efforts. Online services can become your sanctuary and your group meditations. Where there's a will, there is a way. And I think everyone in this room has a strong will, or you wouldn't be sitting here today. Kabir once said, I felt in need of a great pilgrimage, so I sat down for 3 days and God came to me. Another benefit of participating at the temples and groups is that devotees have the opportunity to serve the Guru by volunteering their time. For instance, at some of our temples, they have a day of service where the devotees come together and they garden or they clean or do some maintenance work. This is a wonderful way to increase our attunement with the Guru. Before I entered the ashram, I served at the Hollywood Temple, and there I found kindred souls. Whatever your circumstances, let us remember that the Lord is watching the heart. Master said, make your heart your hermitage. And whether we're joining in person with others or online, or when you want to stay home and meditate in your own little temple with God and Master, always remember Guruji's promise, he who thinks me near, I am near. This promise of the Guru is our sacred personal sanctuary. God is everywhere present, and we can draw him close, as expressed in Master's prayer to the Lord. Make my soul thy temple, make my heart thine altar, make my love thy home. That temple you can take anywhere. Next question. My time is limited due to all my responsibilities, and very often I feel it is superfluous to chant before meditation, as I want to get right down to the techniques with the little time I have, and before I get too sleepy. Is that okay? This devotee, of course, is referring to the SRF techniques of meditation. First, I would say if you're already calm, you're interiorized, with devotion in your heart to the Lord, yes, it's fine to start your meditations without chanting, as long as your meditations don't become mechanical or performed with a sense of duty. Let your opening prayer be a sincere call of the heart, a loving invitation to him or her into your meditation. Meditation techniques are far more effective if the devotee performs them with devotion. There's no doubt, however, the value of chanting. Master himself would often chant for long periods before his meditations with the devotees. And early disciples would say that they would find him in his room sometimes quietly chanting with tears of devotion to the divine. So although it's fine to start your meditations without a chant, most of us need to disengage from the day's activities and experiences. Even a short period of chanting does a great deal to help us forget the world and put our full attention and devotion on God. Meditation then becomes an oblation of love to God or Divine Mother or whatever is your Ishta, that aspect of God that you hold close to your heart. So techniques plus devotion, both are needed to draw the divine to us. Our chants are spiritualized by a God-realized soul, our Guru. Chanting, when offered with devotion, purifies the heart, and it is a way to God union. In his prelude in the book, we have a Guruji's chants entitled Cosmic Chants. He tells us, Ram Prasad, a great saint of India, attained divine illumination by constantly singing with intense love and yearning to the Lord in the aspect of Divine Mother. Also from Cosmic Chants, the importance and power of the habit of devotional chanting cannot be overestimated. To banish inertia, indifference, lack of devotion, sad moods, blind attachments, and a host of other enemies of spiritual enlightenment, chanting is half the battle, said Yoganandaji. Chanting opens for the devotee, he said, a way through which the joyous presence of God can be felt. And that is what we want from our meditations, isn't it? We want joy. We want ever new joy. In a talk with the devotees, Sri Dayamataji counseled them, whenever you chant to God, feel that you are talking to him. Forget everyone else around you. Just harbor one thought. To your beloved Lord, you are here. Let me feel your love percolating through my being. Feel that only you and he exist, and that you are pouring out all of your soul hunger, all your devotion, all of the love of your heart at the feet of the Divine One. So let us take these words to heart during our meditations and chanting. Another thought on chanting. A few months ago, we met with our beloved and our revered president, Brother Chidanandaji, and he was talking about the value of chanting. And he referred to chanting as a form of guided meditation. For example, when we repeat, "Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee," open wide. We are repeating over and over again that invitation to the Lord into our meditation. If we think of chanting as an integral part of our meditation and a form of meditation, if we realize and experience chanting washing away the thoughts of the day, purifying the heart, and as Dayamataji said, pouring all the love of your heart at the feet of the Divine One, we will find chanting is very helpful. So to those who can relate to this question, and it is true, life gets very, very time-oriented and we don't have time to chant, try a little chanting, especially during your long meditations. You might discover that chanting concentrates the mind, opens the heart, and offers a more focused attunement as you practice the meditation techniques. Next question. How does the practice of the SRF techniques, energization exercises, Hongsa, Kriya, develop and strengthen our intuitive abilities? The purpose of Master's pranayama techniques, that is life force control, is to help us interiorize our consciousness, to awaken the soul. The deeper we meditate and attune ourselves to the all-knowing soul, the more intuition grows within us. How do we strengthen our intuitive abilities? When the mind is calm and deeply still in meditation. Master said, anything that ripples the consciousness, sensual, emotional, distorts whatever is perceived. Calmness is clarity of perception, intuition itself. It is the power of intuitive imagination, the ability to image or visualize a truth until it manifests. So to arrive at that rippleless state of consciousness, if you have the Kriya Yoga meditation techniques, begin your meditation with that profound Hongsa technique to concentrate the mind, then the Om technique, which expands the consciousness, and then Kriya, which will increase that receptivity and open for us that infinite highway to the infinite within the spine. There we realize, within the depths of our soul, intuition. Master said in his Gita interpretations, the advanced student should meditate deeply until his thoughts become dissolved in intuition. In the lake of intuition, free from the waves of thought, the yogi can see the unruffled reflection of the moon of the soul. No devotee should be satisfied until he has sufficiently developed his intuition by impartial introspection and deep meditation, as in Kriya Yoga, to experience the communion of soul and spirit. Our next question. Humility is emphasized in the SRF teachings as being essential. But if you're living with family members who have strong worldly habits, what does humility look like? It doesn't seem right to be meek and humble and compromise your spiritual routine to accommodate their worldliness. But I guess it's wrong to mentally judge and criticize them. Is it spiritual pride to think you are better than others because you are seeking God and they are not? How can you be humble but also maintain the integrity of your spiritual life when living with family members who are always worldly? Well, it is indeed very challenging to live with others that do not share our spiritual aspirations. At one time or another, we may have all experienced that. However, as long as we're mentally criticizing or judging them, we're not thinking of God. Our minds cannot be on God when we're criticizing them. If we think we're better than them because they are not on the spiritual path, well, that is not humility. I had the same challenge at times, different times during my life. One of those occasions was just before I entered the ashram. I was visiting with my parents. They had just come from New York. And we were having a wonderful time until I mentioned that I would be entering the ashram as a nun in Self-Realization Fellowship. A nun, yes, they could accept that. SRF, no. It was a very hard conversation to the point that we just weren't getting anywhere, so I just left. I lived behind the Hollywood Temple in an apartment. They knew I lived around the Hollywood Temple, so they went looking for me. They went to the Hollywood Temple, and who would they come across? Brother Bhaktananda. So they had the opportunity to talk to him, and they had quite a long conversation. Brother Bhaktananda knew me from all of the hours that I would volunteer at the temple. He also understood the concerns of my parents. By the end of the conversation, my parents were believers and fully embraced my religion and where I wanted to give my life to God. Later, they even enrolled for the SRF lessons. Such was the impression that Brother Bhaktananda had on them. When I asked them later on what changed their minds, they said, well, that priest, Brother Bhaktananda, his humility, his simplicity, his wisdom, and just they said, he was normal. Just normal. He also happened to look almost exactly like their pastor, Father Brown. I realized I was really very fortunate to have Brother Bhaktananda rescue me, and not everyone has that opportunity. But I tell this story because I wanted to emphasize that it was the brother's humility, his sincerity, that calmed their emotions. It was like a healing balm on their minds and hearts. And though they had little understanding of my spiritual aspirations, they accepted them from a soul who they could resonate with. So when you find yourself in similar situations, you have an omnipresent guru. Call on him. He can come to your rescue. And he will help us through such situations. Our guru once shared, your life is a battleground between the beautiful qualities of your soul and the tenacious enemies of ugly behavior. The battles are fought every day in your interactions with others. The most immediate take place in your own home. You must win the friendship and the love of your family through the sincerity of your own soul. I remember in my family, except for my parents, I was like an outcast because I didn't see as they did. But I held no resentment, silently pursuing my supreme love for God. Eventually, they, one by one, became my disciples. So, if there is a conflict between humility and having the confidence and determination to pursue your spiritual efforts without giving in to the expectations or the influences of those around you who are not spiritually inclined, keep on cultivating that inner life. Keep it an interior life. One cannot assume humility. It comes as one progresses spiritually and as one realizes our complete dependence on God. Your inner strength and your spiritual convictions will speak for you. Speaking of the need to change, and sometimes our wish to change others, recently I was sitting in a waiting room, and there was about 10 of us in that waiting room, and everybody was locked into their own little worlds, meaning their mobile phones. It was perfectly quiet, so quiet. There was a person sitting next to me, sound asleep. Very quiet. Suddenly, the door burst open and two women walked in, and one woman said to the other at the top of her lungs, and I'm not kidding, she said, "You can't change them, get over it. You need to change you." I think all of us in the room were politely startled because it was so loud. And I think we all wanted to know how that other woman was going to react. So there was a silence, and then there was this low sigh. She finally said, "Well, I can change me, but who's going to change you?" I thought, this is timeless. And I thought, this is a good example. We get so engrossed in our comfortable little worlds that sometimes the Lord allows something to come along to wake us up. And yes, the person next to me did wake up. So as one lives his or her spiritual life without imposing on others, even in thought, one becomes more understanding, more patient, kind, yes, and strong. Strong in your own self-worth and spiritual convictions. Our guru, his most outstanding quality was humility, but he was also full of willpower and confidence. And we cultivate these divine qualities by our ever-deepening desire and love for God. Pray for your family members or anyone around you that does not have spiritual inclinations. Pray for the awareness of the root cause of delusion in their lives, and that is ignorance of God's laws. Be strong in your convictions. You have found the royal pathway to God. Embrace it fully. Our two final questions. How effective is prayer against war and hatred? Millions of people pray for peace every day, yet hatred and war just escalates. I believe in the power of prayer, but how can we make a difference? And another similar question. How can I do more for the world at a time when there is so much struggle and uneasiness in people's lives? Somehow I feel that with our Guru's teachings, I should be able to do much more to help the world. But the scale of the issues involved seems so overwhelming. Yet we know the world needs to move into the higher Dwapara Yuga. How can I figure out what role I need to play in this critical hour in the world? These are deep questions and very timely. So here are questions. How can we make a difference? And what is our role at this critical time in the world? First, we need to somehow believe that the world is evolving. Though it seems hard to believe at times, we are moving into a higher age, and we all feel that global struggle. Remember what India went through to gain independence. There was tremendous upheaval, and the role of Mahatma Gandhi was unique at that time. His well-known quotation, "You must be the change you wish to see in the world," is timeless. You must be the change you wish to see in the world. He lived that belief, and thousands followed him. One person can make a difference. For example, because of our Guru's deep faith in God and the knowledge of the power of prayer, which he proved in his own life over and over again, he could create a dynamic technique for peace and healing in this world through the Worldwide Prayer Circle. This powerful healing technique is now used all over the world. And for those of you who may not be familiar with the SRF Worldwide Prayer Circle, Paramahansaji established this healing prayer service for our worldwide prayer, our worldwide family. And you're welcome to learn more on our website or by participating in our online services. The Worldwide Prayer Circle is a most powerful way to bring peace and healing to the world. These prayers and the prayers of others from all over the world are making a difference in that the human race has not completely destroyed itself by now. The devoted prayers of many are counteracting the delusive force of ignorance. Humanity is its own worst enemy and its own divine savior, ever striving for freedom, often in the wrong ways. Paramahansaji said, "The present world crisis is due to the upward climb of Dwapara Yuga. In order for the world to become better, evil must be expunged. The forces of evil will cause their own destruction, thus assuring the survival of righteous actions and nations. The conflict between good and evil has been going on since the dawn of history." He also said, and this is a deep thought, "When you begin to see clearly the imperfections of the world, you will begin to seek the perfection of God." So what we can do individually and collectively to help the world is to seek the perfection of God. If we have a specific role to play, our attunement with the divine will lead us there. In the meantime, let us follow the guidance of Sri Krishna to his disciple Arjuna. Get away from my ocean of suffering. Be anchored in that which is changeless. That is, be anchored in God. That ocean of suffering is too big for any and all of us. If we had full realization, we would understand God's plan for this world. And there is, and I admit this is not very comforting, there is mass karma and individual karma. Meaningful prayer, deep prayer, heartfelt prayer will mitigate that karma for the world and for individuals. Suffering is purifying. It's a prod to remember, remembering God, and to remember this is not our home. We're here to seek God and reunite with God. Brother Anandamoy once said on this subject, "We think it would be wonderful if only we lived in peaceful, normal times. But in a way, there's an advantage to living in troubled times. They impress upon us more clearly that this world is not our home, that true security lies not in the outer world. We need that, and that we need to seek God." He continued, "Consider those peaceful times when there was no fear of world war, when there was no problem with unemployment or ecology. It was during such an era in the last century that Thoreau observed, 'The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation.' Why? Because there was still a hunger, a yearning. Something essential was missing: God." So to conclude this portion of our questions on this subject, I'd like to tell you a little story. It was Easter time at Mother Center, and every Easter we have an Easter egg hunt a couple of days before Easter, and this is for the neighborhood children, and it's always a joyous event. We all participate, and part of my responsibility was to make sure that things were running smoothly. I was part of a team. And aside from the actual egg hunt itself, the children were offered different activities, and one of which was that they could have a balloon made. Some of the little ones had a flower made, some a face, but there was a group of little boys between probably 4 or 5 years old. They all had their balloons made into swords. And so the battles began. We had several boys running all over the place, chasing each other with their swords. I didn't know what to do, I really didn't. And at one point, I was going to go for help because they were really all over the place and they were serious. And then suddenly, one little boy dropped his sword. He sat down in the middle of all of these crowds of people and began to meditate. He crossed his legs in the meditation posture and just started to meditate. The little boy that was chasing him stopped abruptly and didn't know what to do. He dropped his sword. And the other boys, well, the game was over. The battle was over. Later on, I asked that little child, "What made you stop in the middle of that and sit down to meditate?" And he said, just simply in his childlike voice, "Whenever I'm in trouble, I stop and meditate and pray to Master." I think we can all learn something from this. Child's behavior. In the heat of any battle, drop the sword. Turn to God and Master for help. Prayer works, and one soul can change many. Master said that those who are in tune with God can change hearts, even a child. And what is our role? Master said, change yourself, and you have done your part in changing the world. Every individual must change his own life if he wants to live in a peaceful world. It takes great strength, inner strength, to change our behavior, especially in the heat of the moment. But if we can remember, drop that sword, go within to that refuge of calm and clarity. You may recall having read in the autobiography of a yogi when Paramahansaji was speaking of his great guru, Swami Sri Yukteswarji, when he said, "The unfailing composure of a saint is impressive beyond any sermon." And then he quotes from Proverbs, "He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty. He that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city." And Guruji continued, "I often reflected that my majestic master could easily have been an emperor or a world-shaking warrior had his mind been centered on fame or world-shaking achievement. He had chosen instead to storm those inner citadels of wrath and egotism, whose fall is the height of man." So, changing oneself, improving ourselves, and prayer can and will save this world. Let us create one by one that powerful vibration of love, of goodness, of kindness, compassion, and forgiveness. This is how we can make changes in this world. United in prayer and self-improvement, humankind has the power to change lives. It all starts here within. Buddha said, "We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. Our thoughts make our world." So let us make our positive thoughts a strong power for good in this world, and use the powerful gift of our Guru's teachings and race to God. That's why we're here. So for the last few minutes of our meditation, I'd like to meditate with you for a few minutes, and I'd like to repeat a guided meditation by Guru. He has a prayer for peace on earth. And this is from lesson number 63, entitled Becoming an Ideal World Citizen. And note that this talk was at the beginning of World War II. Master began this prayer by giving us a visualization. And so let us practice this visualization, and we'll meditate briefly and then have a closing prayer for peace. So Guruji said, close your eyes and concentrate deeply at the center of divine consciousness between the eyebrows. Feel the infinite love of God within your heart. Let your heart emanate that love for the entire world. Feel that your love is going forth like an invisible X-ray, coursing through space into the hearts of the dictators and prime ministers and heads of all nations, that they may bring peace and international prosperity on earth instead of destruction. Include in the powerful radiation of your love all peoples of the world. May our united healing rays of love be surcharged by the infinite love of our Father and bathe the entire earth, permeating the hearts of all leaders and citizens of the world, that they may be filled with the universal amity and harmony of spirit, bringing peace on earth, goodwill to all, under the fatherhood of God. So let us meditate for a couple of minutes, continuing that visualization and our united healing rays bathing the entire earth. Make those 2 minutes count. let us close with our Guruji's prayer for peace. Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, bless the nations of this earth, our own large family, that all may realize their eternal kinship as thy children. Thou art our one spiritual Father, the beloved of the universe, and the beloved of our hearts. May the strong thoughts of love we broadcast today possess the brains of the dictators and generals, that they may be filled with thy wisdom. Bless them all. Bless all citizens of the earth, that they may establish a cooperative unity among all souls, and live in a united world with thy power and light and love, guiding us to thy kingdom. Om. Peace. Amen. Jai Guru. Jai Guru.